Ladies and gentlemen, please now join me in welcoming Casey Carl, Chief Strategy and Innovation Officer at Target, and Hillary Milnes, Retail Reporter at Digiday.
Great. Hi, Casey. Thanks so
Hello.
much for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We're here to talk about in-store technology and experiences. And so I wanted to start with something that I've heard a few times at Shop Talk so far, which is that mobile has really become the bridge between digital and physical retail. And so I wanted to hear you just talk about how the Cartwheel app has really become the tool for you guys to combine those two experiences.
Yeah, so for us at Target, mobile, a couple of years ago, we made a major strategic pivot, and we declared mobile as the front door to Target. And the reason we did that is because this is just the fabric of our guests' lives. And mobile now plays that connective tissue between online and offline, and we really think that it's the platform that can help unlock truly amazing experiences where we know the best of a guest digitally, but whether that's on our website or whether that's in our stores. And so Cartwheel is an app we created a couple years ago that's designed to really personalize savings for each and every guest. So at any given time, there'll be several hundred different offers, and the guests can curate and choose which offers are relevant for them, and then they can redeem those offers. And so we've seen a meteoric rise and great success of it. We have 24 million guests and counting now using Cartwheel, and we've driven over $3 billion in sales. So really excited, but I think more than anything else, it just showcased that mobile is critically important in every part of our guests' lives, and we've got to make sure that we're designing our experiences around that.
And part of that rise in adaptation is that you guys have really empowered your associates to know a lot about the app and really sell it to the customers, both because they work for Target, but also because they're excited about it themselves.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. Is we've got 300,000 amazing team members in our stores, but they're also our guests. So first and foremost, we had to walk them through the experience, whether we're a flagship app or whether it's Cartwheel, to talk about what it does, how it really unlocks value for guests, and then they got to see that firsthand in terms of their own lives. So now we've got 300,000 great ambassadors that are in our stores, and at any given time, you can walk the floor pad and you can see a team member talking about Cartwheel, and they get really excited talking about it because they're like, here's how I use it. Here's what my wife does with our kids. These are the offers that I downloaded last week. And so it's really fun to see that. We've got 300,000 great ambassadors for the product.
Great. So let's just take a step back, and I'd love to have you answer, as someone who works at a company like Target, why does the store still matter for customers?
Yeah, I think this has clearly been the topic at hand for all of Shop Talk, and it's been great to hear others, I think, kind of support my belief that stores are as vital today as ever before. But I think you've seen over the last several years that for stores to truly stay relevant, they've got to continue to up their game, and ultimately it's all about experience. And that's really what we're focused on. In a world where every brand or every product's 1 or 2 clicks away, it's experience that will really define whether you're successful or not. And our stores, our 1,800 stores that are in our guests' backyards, are some of our most strategic assets we have. So we intend to take kind of full advantage of that. So our stores have always been a great selling channel with great products and services, and they create great experiences with our team members. But they also are now a fulfillment channel. We've got 1,800 distribution centers in our guests' backyards. Our store is also a community gathering place, and so it's going to continue to evolve in multiple roles, and I'm sure we'll take on many other roles with the emergence of new technologies and as the consumer changes.
Great. And experience is another word that we hear all the time. So did you want to talk about what you guys have done in San Francisco with the Target Open House?
Yeah, so the Internet of Things is clearly one of these mega trends that's coming. Billions, if not trillions of dollars of opportunity, but it's very nascent still. And so what we've seen from a lot of the connected products that we sold in our own stores in Target was that guests didn't really understand how to really unlock the full value of each and every product. And so we created Open House last summer. It's in San Francisco, right in the Metreon, right downstairs from our store. And what we did is we wanted to create a contextual environment to really showcase these devices, both individually, but also talk about how they can work collectively. And really demystify that experience. And by putting them in a contextual setting, by having the smart baby monitor and the Hue light in a nursery, you can kind of see not only how that fits within your life, but also how the data flows and how these platforms that might not talk together today, how they can work together to truly create better value for our consumers. So it's been a great success, both as a standalone retail experience, but probably more importantly, to help inform what we can bring back to 1,800 stores. So we use it as a great product incubator. some of our best-selling products there that from really the first week, we were able to flip over to the Target merchants, and it became some of their best sellers for last holiday season. And so it's really playing a lot of different roles from store to learning lab.
Great.
But it's been very exciting.
Yeah, and you guys have done a few other standalone retail experiences
Yeah.
that are outside of store and a little bit more special and curated. Did you want to talk about those as well?
Yeah, so one of them is Wonderland. So it's this is more of a kind of a branding experience where we just created really something fun last December in New York. It was only open for a couple of weeks. But if anybody was able to experience it, it was fun for the entire family, and I truly mean that. Guests were able to go through this really immersive experience, and they used their lanyards as really their shopping tool, and these lanyards were equipped with RFIDs. And so again, really looking at this emergence of a new technology and how we can apply it to create magical experiences. And that's truly what Wonderland was. It was magical experiences. You can see it from some of the visuals. But it was just incredibly fun, and we created these great moments of serendipity that were just completely unexpected while guests were able to also add products to their basket. And so we think that there's absolutely something there that we can scale to all of our experiences at Target as we continue to explore these new technologies and then how we can really unlock new and innovative experiences.
Great. Yeah. So you're using what you're learning at these standalone things to really roll out to the rest of the chain.
Yep.
But how do you avoid making it so? And I've heard many people say this. I've heard you say it. Just doing technology for technology's sake and having it be gimmicky rather than actually useful for the customer.
Yeah, there's a lot of definitely technology for technology's sake, and we really look at it as a means to an end. To us, it's all about delivering great experiences. And so technology is fantastic for greater automation, creating greater efficiency, or truly to create kind of a metadata around a consumer so we know more about them holistically. But just doing that, that's not enough. We have to actually turn that into something magical to truly create those moments of great discovery and convenience, and hopefully moments of serendipity as well. And so that's really how we look at the uses of technology. With that said, both supply chain and then our technology infrastructure, those are our two biggest areas of investment for the company, because the infrastructure has to scale to unlock these experiences at a truly personal level for our millions and millions of guests, but also across all 1,800 stores. And so we're investing deeply in infrastructure. I heard that from a couple different panelists earlier today, so it's great to hear that people are recognizing the importance of infrastructure and how vital it will be for us to scale these experiences in the future.
Right. Yeah. So kind of going off of that, where you're investing and where you're actually putting your resources, what are you prioritizing in terms of improving the customer experience? So it's great if you're in San Francisco or New York and can make it out to the open house or Wonderland. Yep. But if I'm just going to the neighborhood Target, and I walk in the doors, what do you want the experience to look like from a digital perspective?
Yeah. Well, I think the biggest thing is that we don't want the experience to be a digital perspective. We want it to be a great experience, period. And that means that the channels just have to work together seamlessly. And so we talk again about the importance of mobile really helping bridge that gap between online and offline. But it's also just about listening to our consumers, listening to our guests, and hearing where is there existing friction within our experience. So pick up in store. It's a fulfillment offering that we added a few years back. And not surprisingly, the guest has loved this, to be able to pick up items that they didn't want sitting on their doorstep and shipped to them directly, to be able to pick it in our store because they're coming to our stores already. So it's a great convenience play as well. But while they're there, we have room. They've told us that we've got room to improve that experience, and so we're investing deeply in really listening to our guests to how we can make that experience better. And then ultimately, when they do that, they want to shop us even more, and so they love us more deeply, and they come more often. So that's just one of those things. So just continue to listen to our consumer and understanding where there's friction and how do we remove that from the experience, just to make it work.
Mm-hmm. Great. And can you talk more about it? And you're talking about scale and how important the infrastructure is, because if you have these great experiences that you can put into a few stores, unless you can really roll it out for every Target customer, how is that really playing a big part of the brand? So, how else are you scaling? Is that really where mobile comes into play? Because everyone already has that in their pocket. That the hardware is paid for by them, and then you guys can really maneuver the software. How else are you scaling?
Yeah, so a couple things. First of all, again, we have to invest in the infrastructure kind of internally to ensure that we can really make those external experiences consistently great. Certainly mobile is a platform because it is in all of our pockets or all of our purses. So we've got an installed platform already, so let's leverage the heck out of that and ensure that we show up great on mobile. And what we see from the data, and we hear it all the time from our guests, is that our guest isn't shopping us just online or just in mobile or just in stores or on social. They're leveraging multiple platforms of ours simultaneously. They're doing research on their mobile device while in our stores. and then they're choosing to fulfill it and have it shipped to their door. And so we've got to make sure, again, that everything works together seamlessly and just make it incredibly easy. But then also, how do we leverage some of these newer technologies, like our investments in personalization, to truly create one-to-one experiences where you're like, man, Target, you not only make it easy, but you know me. And I love that.
Yeah.
And therefore, they want to engage more deeply with us. And so we can drive much greater loyalty that way.
Yeah.
So those are some of the areas of investment. But then the other part is that we also have to think of areas like an open house or a Wonderland or some of the stuff we did in Denver with patio and now with furniture is these are learning labs where we create really a learning agenda that we can scale. And we can scale it across 1,800 stores. We can scale it across 300,000 team members. So we don't need to do that test in every store to get the lessons learned and then apply it more broadly. And so that's really what we're looking at. So there's Patio that we launched in Denver. And what we saw with Patio is this is a business that's always been highly penetrated online. And it makes a ton of sense. It's big, it's bulky, and it's expensive. And a lot of our guests don't have cars big enough to bring this stuff home, or they don't have a car at all. But they still want to buy a patio set. And so what we've seen is we've got to create a great showroom for our online product to, again, make the channels work together seamlessly. So a guest can sit in our furniture. They can test out the cushions. They can see how big the love seat is, or if that red is really a red, or if it's some tomatillo or some other shade of red. But then they want it seamless. I want to be able to click. I want to be able to buy. I want it shipped to my house. And just make it work, Target. And that's really where we're investing, is to be able to scale those things to just make it incredibly easy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, do you want to talk a little bit more about the learnings that you mentioned how well the products at the open house performed, and what else are you learning from these one-off experiences that you can apply to the broader chain?
Yeah, so from whether it's an open house or even Wonderland, we're learning really in multifaceted ways. One is just how we can leverage the technology to truly create new experiences. So in Wonderland, the usage of RFID, which are now scaling far more broadly to a lot of our apparel assortment across all of our stores. This helps with item location, item accuracy, but ultimately the guests don't care about that. What they care about is that I want to know when I'm doing research and it says you're in stock that the product's there each and every time. Our team members want to know, where's that apparel item located within the store? Is it on the rack or is it in the back room? Mm-hmm. And so those are one of the things where we've learned with Wonderland, but we can apply that far more broadly. Open house, we're learning a ton about not only the product itself that can benefit the merchant organization, but we're learning about the content. What content really resonates deeply with people, or where doesn't it? And how do we tweak that content? And that's how we built that experience, is be very iterative, so we can figure that out quickly, and then we can disseminate that far more broadly to the entire chain.
Right. And I think at a store like Target, what you want when you're actually shopping in the store, there are a few benefits that you get when you're online shopping. It's product curation as well as easily accessible reviews.
Yep.
So how are you guys pulling in different things like that? I know you've worked with Pinterest before to have the Pinterest recommended products in the app. Do you want to talk a bit more about those? Yeah,
so a couple of things, and we'll talk about Pinterest. One is we have to meet the guests where they are. And so they're going to places beyond Target for inspiration, Pinterest being one of those platforms that does that incredibly well. And so we've got to meet them where they are and ensure that we show up well in that environment. And it looks like we belong there. But then also we have to say, hey, we can leverage Pinterest and a lot of their rich information to bring that back into stores and say, hey, you can shop with confidence because this is one of the top pinned items. And not surprisingly, because of how e-commerce has fundamentally shifted and shaped the expectations of how people shop. And that's not unique to a given channel. That's just how people shop. We've got to continue to elevate our game to make sure that truly experiences win out, and stores have a vital role to play, but they've got to act more digitally.
Mm-hmm. And so when else are you really touching that consumer experience in a way that it really feels frictionless to them, but there's actually a lot going on in the back end that they wouldn't actually feel, but it's removing a lot of those pain points?
Yep, I think, in supply chain, a lot of investments there, but that's really looking at, again, how do we create the optionality for our guests? So not every guest wants stuff within 1 hour or 2 hours. A lot of them just want to be able to know with confidence that if I pick this time in this delivery window, it's going to be there because I'm going to be home. And so we're continuing to find and invest in ways to create greater optionality and a suite of choices. So some want to pick up in store, some want it shipped to their doorstep, some want their groceries delivered. And so we're continuing to explore a lot of those things to create greater optionality that's truly a Target experience that's tailored to each and every consumer.
And do you think that there is in-store technology that's gotten a lot of buzz, but you think is just kind of all talk and doesn't actually work in execution, at least at a store like Target?
Well, there's definitely a lot of technology that I think it's the right idea, but they're not equipped at the scale of Target yet. But I think like location's probably the best example. Is location is incredibly important. Knowing where products are, knowing where team members are, knowing where our guests are at any given point is incredibly valuable information. But that in itself does nothing. Like that's not a great experience. So we're continuing to invest in learning about how location technology is emerging. There's a lot of different things from beacons to other ways to get to location, and we'll continue to test and iterate on that to figure out what is the right type of technology or suite of technologies to help enable location, but then more importantly, how do we use that information to create great experiences? So we can weave that with our personalization engine and our mobile platform to now really unlock some magical experiences, but location in itself wouldn't do that. So I think there's a lot of technologies where we just have to figure out how to apply it appropriately to truly create a great experience.
And when it comes to what you're not really putting your resources towards then, is there anything that you wouldn't really test out or would overlook or at least think we can't focus on that right now because we have other things to figure out, like the infrastructure, for one example?
Yeah, I think every organization's got to figure out through strategy, obviously, what they're going to choose to do, but more importantly, what they're choose not to do. And so we run our business like a portfolio. Our categories all have a role to play within the portfolio, but they don't all have the same role. Some are more traffic drivers, some are truly those moments of inspiration and impulsiveness. And so we've got to figure out how do we make sure that each part of the business, whether that's the product categories or whether that's the different capabilities, play their specific role to help, again, create those experiences. And if we can do that, the growth will come. And I think that's what we really focus on. But that also means we have to remove a lot of the distractions for the organization to say, that's not what we're focusing on right now. And so that's really the role of strategy, but we're continuing to get better and better at that capability.
Yeah, it definitely seems like your resources and your attention are probably being pulled in a lot of different directions. But if resources weren't a question and money wasn't a question, what would you want to do in every single Target store?
Well, that's a great question. A couple of things. First of all, we've got to let the guests lead us there. I think it's presumptuous of us to say, we're going to go do this and then hope that they come. So I think we spend a lot of time just listening and learning and understanding and being empathetic to our guests today, but also those future guests of tomorrow, and what are the needs that they have? What are the friction points within their life that we can go solve and then invest appropriately against that? I think if we can take that approach, the investments will follow suit because they'll be sound investments. Right now we're exploring some kind of emerging topics like Internet of Things we talked about. The future of food is another really exciting one. Certainly understanding how commerce and shopping is going to evolve as we continue to invest in things like social, and which is great from a branding perspective, but how do we make it more commerce enabled as well, and see what we can really explore there. So I think we're developing the right capabilities to do exploration and then figure out from there, then where do we really want to invest, and we won't invest prematurely without really having the right learnings underway first.
Great. I was expecting some sort of holograms in every aisle or virtual reality experience in every turn and something like that.
You never know. But we'll continue to, like I said, just not chase the technologies just for its own sake.
Yeah, target of the future. And so how are you using the online channel as a way to boost the in-store experience? And we talked about buy online, pick up in store. Anything else that you're doing when people are shopping? And a lot of times they're doing research. So how else are you using their time online to drive them into the store or improve the store experience?
Yeah, I think for us, it's realizing that in almost every shopping occasion that we have, nearing 100%, digital is a vital role to play in that shopping journey. And so for some categories, like consumer electronics or some toys or highly giftable items or high-ticket items, there's a ton of product research. In others, they want to read product reviews. In others, they want to actually see what people are wearing and find moments of inspiration. And so what we've got to, again, figure out is how do we have the right content in the right places in a way that's relevant for that specific use case. And so in the case of patio, people come to our stores to buy digitally. In other ones, they're doing the research online to come to our stores to buy it. And so again, we just got to make it work and realize that even within a given category or a given use case, that every consumer is different. And so we just have to make it work for them. And again, feel like it's a truly one-to-one experience. And that's certainly something that is chasing the impossible, but that's our aspiration, is to truly create personal one-to-one experiences.
Great. Well, we're just about out of time. I want to thank you, Casey, for the talk.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Casey and Hillary.